Hello, I'm Prue Mitchell. I'm a Wikimedian, and my day job is as a librarian at the Australian Council for Educational Research. Um, and I'm joined in presenting today by Tamsin Braisher, Wikimedian in residence from the University of Otago. Wikimedia Australia and Wikimedia Aotearoa New Zealand are delighted to be partnering to offer this 1Lib1Ref referencing session today. And I'll just begin. I'm on the lands of the Wurundjeri peoples of the Kulin Nation in Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. So I'll begin by acknowledging elders past and present, acknowledging them as the first knowledge holders of this place. And I'd also like to acknowledge any First Nations people joining us on the call today. If you would like to use the chat function in Zoom, you can tell us or acknowledge where you are located. We'd be really interested, and I'm sure everyone else would love to see who else is joining us today. Wikimedia is a global movement, and place is important to us. I'm now going to hand over to Tamsin to introduce herself and the session, and I'll be back in a minute. Thanks, Tamsin.
Thank you, Prue. Ko ingarangi te whakapaparanga mai, engari ko New Forest te kainga, ko Tamsin aho, tēnā ko te katoa. So my name is Tamsin Braisher, and as Prue said, I'm the Wikimedian in residence here at the University of Otago, which is in Dunedin, in the very south of New Zealand. And I'm here for the year helping staff and students understand how Wikipedia works. Can we have the first slide? Is it Sophie in charge of slides? Thank you. So this session is about 1Lib1Ref, which stands for One Librarian, One Reference. This is a Wikipedia campaign that has been going for many years. I think 2016 was when it started, so 10 years now. It happens twice a year and lasts for a month each time. So this is the first session, mid-May to mid-June, and then there's another one generally in January. And the vision for that campaign is to encourage every librarian around the world to add one reference to a Wikipedia article. And they originally calculated in 2016 that if every librarian in the world took 15 minutes to add a citation based on a credible published source, that would completely clear the backlog of 350,000 citation needed statements on Wikipedia. So it's an immensely powerful thing to do, adding citations. And librarians all around the world have been joining 1Lib1Ref for years now to make information open and accessible for the 500 million readers that Wikipedia has. So today it's your turn to learn how to do that, or be reminded if you've done it before. And of course, we call it 1Lib1Ref, but adding more than one citation is perfectly okay. In fact, we encourage it. And the other thing that you can do is take what you've learned today and show someone else, maybe show your colleagues, friends, family, how they can add reliable sources to Wikipedia. So you could think of this as a train the trainer session. We are very happy to share our training materials with you. We'll share the slides, anything else that you need. Do please hit us up for help if you need it. Next slide, please. So why does Wikipedia matter? Most of you may be, well, some of you at least, may be aware that Wikipedia is 25 years old this year. And I am not ashamed to admit that when I first heard of it, when it was newly created, I was extremely skeptical about how reliable a crowdsourced encyclopedia could be. And I imagine that was many people's first reaction if they heard of it in the early days. But it's grown to become one of the most widely used reference sources in history. It is consistently in the top 10 most visited websites in Australia and New Zealand and all around the world. And it's the only non-profit in those top 10 websites. It will often come up first in search engines. We know AI uses it. In English Wikipedia, there's around 7 million articles, growing all the time, of course. But Wikipedia is available in 350 languages. And that is also growing all the time. So the reach that Wikipedia has is amazing. I also think there's a little bit of extra pressure in English Wikipedia. Often our articles get translated into other languages, and I think that makes it even more important that we have reliable information that's supported by sources. So if you do a Google search or other internet search, you'll often find these Wikipedia results coming up right at the top of the list, as you can see here with Donna Strickland. The Wikipedia article is the top of the search results proper, but you've also got this knowledge panel over on the side. That is extracting information directly from the Wikipedia article and representing it in the search. There's also images. Some are coming from social media, but some are also coming from Wikimedia Commons, which is the Wikipedia image library. You get these little data panels sometimes with age and birth date and where someone was educated, and that's often drawn from Wikipedia, but also sometimes from Wikidata, which is our big linked database behind Wikipedia. So, as I mentioned, often Wikipedia results are used in AI, repackaged, repurposed, recombined in different ways. You'll also see them in other places. If you're a librarian in a library that uses Ex Libris Primo, you may have turned on the AI, not the AI feature, the extra feature that shows a Wikidata or a Wikipedia panel in the library catalogue for authors who are connected. You may have looked at if you've flown on an airline that uses in-flight information, often you can see information about your destination, which is drawn from Wikipedia. So it's all over the place. And sometimes you're using Wikipedia without knowing it. So next slide, I think. Oh, I'm going to hand back to Prue for why citations matter on Wikipedia.
Thank you. And I just want to acknowledge the brilliant question in the chat, and we'll come back to some questions like that, unless anyone in any of the Wikimedians around want to contribute. Otherwise, we'll come back to those at the end. So it's a perfectly brilliant question. So I guess why we're here today is because of citation. And I just want to say, first of all, I think citations are really for librarians, and most of us are very much our everyday bread and butter work. So, but I will just say, in citations, you may need to explain to people what they are, and they are the after a fact is stated in Wikipedia, then there'll be a little superscript number, and that will reference a direct reference that supports that fact down in the reference list. So it's very much grounded in the scholarly product that people are used to. But you may need to explain that to people if you're training other people. So why? Why are they important? There's probably many reasons. The main one is verifiability. So citations ensure that Wikipedia content is based on established facts, not opinions, not original research, and not made up or fake information. And so, you can see why that is so crucial. There's a whole policy around verifiability, and we can help you. If you're interested in following up any of these links, we can give them to you later. The other thing is notability. So if to have a dedicated Wikipedia page, a topic or a person must be considered notable. And so citations from multiple independent, reliable sources are required to prove that they're notable. That's our definition of it. It's also neutrality, so you can cite reliable sources across different viewpoints on a topic, and that's the way Wikipedia allows you to present different perspectives. And it's all part building into the trust and accountability. So if you're citing sources, it allows users and fact checkers to dig deeper into the original material. It adds like that editorial oversight and guards further against misinformation. And it was I'm still pretty G'd up from hearing Jimmy Wales speaking last night, the co-founder of Wikipedia, on his new book called Trust. And so that whole focus on trust and accountability is a big one in Wikipedia and in the movement. You've heard me say reliable sources a couple of times already. Again, librarians, it's their special subject. There is a very long essay. Don't go there now, but I'm just giving it to you so you've got it later about what we consider a reliable source. But I think, again, I don't think we need to labour that point in this particular audience. So, Sophie, could you just move to the next slide? What we're going to do now is get into some activity. And thank you for the getting involved in saying where you are. What we'd like you to do now is deal with another tab. And one of the issues with Wikipedia is you do end up with multiple tabs or multiple windows. So if you could get to Wikipedia, if you're not already, and if you could find that login link at the top and make sure you're logged in with the username that you would have used to register for this event. If you're sitting in a room with other people and you haven't registered and you've got time to do it, please do. The question of a username, it doesn't have to be your actual name. Everything you do on Wikipedia will be public. So you can use your real name, I do, but other, think about any kind of pseudonym, it doesn't matter, but you are going to be using it a lot and other people will be seeing it. If you're going to be training others, it's a good idea to take note of this login process. A lot of us have done our creating a login a long time ago and they keep trying to improve the system. So some of the screenshots and things will change over time. And I do notice Tamsin's very sensible and she has a demo separate account. But at this stage, that's beyond what we need to do.
I always advise people when they make an account, if you're helping other people make one, I always advise them to add an email address so they can recover their password if they forget it, which happens more often than any of us would like to admit.
Yeah. We will move on to the demo. So we are going to start just with the slides because we feel like that will be useful to you if you're going to reuse any of these. So the main thing, in order to do any edits, and so anyone can read Wikipedia, great. But what we're doing now is getting into the point of editing. So once you are logged in, you should be able to see an edit, possibly, hopefully, an edit source button as shown on that screen. If you only have one of them, then when we go into the workshop mode, we'll get you fixed up so that you're seeing them both so that you've got a choice. And you'll just be able to let us know in the chat and we'll change your settings on that. So that's one thing to remember. Thanks, Sophie. We'll go into the next bit of the process. When you drop that down, so at this stage you don't need to follow along, but you need to note at what point you might have something different because that's where we'll have to help you when we go live. But these are the two options of a visual editor, which gives you very straightforward if you're used to most learning management systems, library management systems, or HTML, you'll be very comfortable with that. And it'll activate a list of the type of formatting toolbar that you can see there. If you only have the source editing, then that's a coded editing. A lot of people are quite comfortable with it, but for training, it's usually best to train with the visual editor. It just removes one level of complexity. Thanks, Sophie. We'll go to the next one. So if you like, these are the steps. So once you've edited, then you're going to position your cursor where you want a citation, which will be directly after the punctuation, no space, and not before the punctuation. That's just the Wikipedia style. And then you will hit those quote marks up there that say cite. And you will get a pop-up citation tool, which for those of you who are interested is powered by Zotero, the referencing software. There's great partnerships going, and there are lots of other tools that sit behind all of this citation. It's so important to Wikipedia that they put a lot of energy into development there. So that's what the tool looks like. You'll notice a couple of tabs, but mostly you just want to go automatic as quickly as you can. Thank you. Let's look at the next one. You will paste something into that automatic, and we'll show you that in a moment, but you'll see the instruction. You can paste a URL, you can paste an ISBN if it's a book, you can paste a DOI if it's an article, PubMed ID, possibly a couple of others. As I say, they're adding things all the time. It will generate a citation for you, and you can see there's an insert button, a blue insert button there, which you'll click, and that will put it in. You can also edit that citation if you don't like what it's done. I'm sure you've all come across nasty metadata, website metadata. So you will have the option to edit it. But one of our things in Wikipedia is, it's better to have something rather than nothing. So if it's not perfect, someone will come and fix it up for you. On the next screen, the last step of the process, pretty easy process, is to publish that change. Don't lose it. Don't move somewhere else and look for something else or follow a link. Just click the big blue button at the top and publish it. And you might think that's the last thing, but there's actually one more thing on the next screen that is really important. Every time we publish something on Wikipedia or edit anything, we write a summary, what's called an edit summary, and that says what we did. Because when you look through the history of an article to find out where something went wrong or where something was added that you're worried about, then you can start to see what somebody did and how much they added or subtracted at the time. So it's very good etiquette to get used to doing that step of the process. It will prompt you, and it'll probably prompt you if you try to get away with not doing it. So that's the pretty quick, easy few steps to the process. And we've actually decided that we're going to add 1Lib1Ref, and I think Tamsin's going to demonstrate that in a minute when she goes live. Just a point that you are openly licensing your contribution when you press publish. And those words are licensed, so it's just another thing we haven't gone into the whole history of Wikipedia because that is a 1 hour session in itself, and we are trying to get to the point before the half-hour mark that you're actually doing something. So I think it is time for me to hand over now, Tamsin.
Let me start sharing. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Yes, hooray. I'll take that as a general yes. Okay, so I'm going to make the edit. So this article, just to explain what I'm doing, is Portuguese millipede. There's an outbreak of them in Wellington. And there was recently a news article I was reading saying that laboratory trials of a potential control agent had shown that it was not going to be effective. And look, someone, possibly me, 10 minutes ago, added this unsupported sentence to say that these laboratory trials don't work. And so what I'm going to do now is add the citation that supports that statement. So I've just copied the URL from this Radio New Zealand website. And I could go right up to the top and find that edit button, but actually there's one next to the heading here, so I'm going to hit that instead. Sometimes editing just a section can help you avoid edit conflicts if other people are working on the article at the same time. Doesn't often happen, but if you're editing like current events and things, or in a workshop and you all head to the same article, it can be useful. Right, so I've got my cursor in the right place. Is this big enough? Let me make it a bit bigger. Oop. Right, I've got my cursor in the right place after the punctuation. Hit that cite button and it brings up this pop-up. I'm going to go with automatic and paste the URL in that I copied and then hit create. And it takes a few seconds, but it goes away and it extracts from the website the metadata from the page. Now, you will sometimes find with websites that they've put in protection against bots from scraping things, and so that metadata is inaccessible. When that happens, you just have to create the citation manually instead using a web page template, which we can show you in a minute. But for this one, I chose one that I knew would work. So it's picked up the author's name. It's picked up that she's a reporter, which I wouldn't normally put in, but I'm going to leave it. And the title and the source and the date and so on. And I'm going to come up and hit the publish button. And I'm going to say add ref support trial statement. That's more than you necessarily need to say, but 1Lib1Ref. I don't ever use minor edit. Minor edits are so minor you don't see them on the page, but that's not always obvious to beginner editors, so just I recommend people don't ever click minor edit. And I'm going to publish the changes. And there we go. And now that means that anyone looking at that page will see that that statement has that citation. So web pages are pretty straightforward, but you can cite all sorts of things on Wikipedia. So I'm going to show you another kind of edit. Now, you may have come to this workshop with an edit in mind, with some idea of what you want to do on Wikipedia, which is absolutely great. Please do that and ask us for help if what we're teaching you doesn't cover the kind of citation you need to make. But if you just want to practice the skills and you don't have any edits in mind, Prue and I have put together a couple of lists, and with Ali's help, of suggested edits that you can make. So my list is called the Books of Mana list. So the Books of Mana was published last year. It's it's being screened out by the by my background. It's a hardback book written by 3 Maori academics in New Zealand who've identified the 180 most important works that are Maori authored nonfiction. So it's a really useful list because a lot of the authors of these books are on Wikipedia, and now we can add to their article that they wrote something that's on this list. So it adds to their notability that their work is important. So we should put this link in the chat. Can I get someone to do that? Could you do that for me, Prue? Sorry, I can't see the chat while I'm showing the screen. So I've made a suggestion for the words that you could put in an article, just to say the book, titled whatever, published in whatever, was selected as one of the most important. Okay, now I'm just going to copy these words here for now and go to this top. So here's the list. It goes down a couple of pages. The list of articles to edit. And I'm going to put my editor name over here. Well, in fact, I'm Demosne today, sorry. This is because on my normal account, I have so many tools turned on that the screen looks a bit different. And it's a bit off-putting, I think, to try and teach people with a screen that doesn't look the same as normal. So if you ever find yourself teaching people in the stage where you have lots of tools turned on and it looks different, you can create a demo account, which is a bit cleaner. Right, so let's go to Narino Ellis's page. This is her here. She authored one of these books, and the book is already mentioned on her page. Where is it? Here it is. It's a whakapapa of tradition. It's a book about carving. So it was firstly her thesis, published as a book. There's a couple of sources here, but it doesn't say anything about the fact that it's on this list. So I'll paste in those words and the book. So I don't need to repeat the title of the book. It was selected as one of the most significant works. And now I want to cite Books of Mana. So there's a couple of ways of citing books. There is an ISBN for this book, but I've discovered that pasting that in doesn't work for this particular book, which is rather annoying. Another way of citing books is to put into the automatic thing a couple of the authors and the title, and sometimes that will bring it up. Again, it doesn't work with this book. So what I have done is put it into Wikidata, and you can copy this, what we call a QID. So it's a bit like taking an ISBN or a DOI or some other identifier and pasting that in instead. So I've copied that QID, put my cursor in the right position, hit Cite and Automatic, paste in the QID and create. Now, if you're a very experienced Wikipedia editor and you're used to citations, you might prefer to do a Cite Q citation instead, which is a different template. There are instructions for that in Google Doc. I won't show it because it's more complicated. The only difference it would make, it would link these authors. Both Jacinta Ruru and 1Lib1R have Wikipedia pages of themselves. So it would link those to their pages, and it would put the Wikidata identifier at the end. But I think that's good enough for now. And if there was anything I wasn't happy about with this, I could edit it and it would open up the Citebook template. And this is the template that you end up using if you do a book citation manually. So you just have to paste in authors or editors' names and titles and publishers and things, which can be a bit of a pain. So that's why we always use ISBNs and so on if we can. Right, and let me publish that change. Add, I might say add books of Mana citation and publish changes. I forgot to put 1Lib1Ref. Okay. I think that's me. So you're welcome to go in. There's a huge long list of suggested edits in that Google Doc, but Prue's going to show us some Australian anthology suggested edits if you want to try those out as well or instead. Now, do you need you start sharing and I stop?
Yeah, I've got that stuck over where I want to share. That's sorry.
No, the coordination of the stopping and starting is
Yes,
tricky, isn't it, when we can't see each other's
lovely.
screens?
I hope I am sharing now, so you can stop.
Okay.
Thanks, Tamsin. So I think the more times you watch somebody do something, then the easier it becomes. So the example that I was going to show you is called the Anthology of Australian Aboriginal Literature, which is a similar principle. And thanks to Alice from Wikimedia Australia for suggesting this one. So it's basically a collection of work from Australian Aboriginal writers. It's got various titles. It was called the Macquarie Pen Anthology and the Anthology. So I'm just going to use an ISBN because there is an ISBN that functions for this, so I'll do a demo of that. And we are using a different Google Doc, which somebody could put in the chat for me. This one, here we are. So we've got the Wikipedia articles. We've got the content in the actual anthology. We've actually got a Internet Archive link to the anthology, and then we've got some other possible links that would help you if you want to do some other citations. So I'm just going to start with the one at the bottom here, and we're suggesting you say something like an extract of this book is included in this anthology. So as you say, this is all about just trying to get you into the citation part without having to spend too much time worrying about what content you're going to do, because there are two parts of the process. So I would go to Wikipedia. This is Rita Huggins I'm going to do. So I would come to Wikipedia and I would search for the person who I want to add the article. There's Rita. And I'll find somewhere in the article where I can say that. So I don't know if the book is mentioned. We just have to have a bit of a look through an article. Oh, I can see some other things here about citation needed. And so there's a challenge for you. Anyone who's interested in doing a bit of original research with all your sources in your library collection, go and find out if you can get a citation that reinforces this particular fact. So when you see these, as librarians, you should take that as a real challenge to test your reference skills. So Okay, well, this is, as Tamsin said, is kind of a indication of notability that their writing has been chosen. So I think it's quite appropriate to put it under legacy. So the story of her life was written and published here. It won the right. You need to find an edit. One thing when you're working in a workshop, it's good to just use the closest edit button because then you won't have a clash with other people who are in other sections. So I'm just going to click edit. Position, I'm going to have to put this new fact in because I'm not just adding a citation to this fact that already exists. I'm actually going to put that fact in without any formatting. Wikipedia is very strong on identifying any plagiarism, and so copying and pasting straight in is not advisable. So I want to just format this one as italics. And straight after the punctuation, I want to add my citation. Before I hit the cite button, I usually go away and make sure I can get the ISBN or the DOI or whatever it is I want. So I go somewhere else and get my ISBN in this case, hit the cite button. See here where all the things, oh, they haven't told you everything you can put in there now. But anyway, I'm pasting in an ISBN. And I'm crossing my fingers that it worked yesterday. It's coming from WorldCat, I think, this one. So it's not actually the Australian edition, and it's taking a long time. There we go. All right. So it's returned via the Zotero plugin. It returns authors in a particular format that it likes. Yeah, it's a shame it's not this edition, but I don't want to muck up. That is the ISBN, so I will just insert that. You might have noticed the lowercase University Press. I don't like that. That makes me cross. So I will come down. You can see all the fields, the metadata fields that you can change, and other information you can add if there's something missing, but you don't want to have a web page as long as the Trove data entry form. So we'll just edit and then we'll go up here to publish, and we should expect to see it added into the list. Um, uh, this is harder than doing the citation. Um, Okay, and you can see here I'm watching this page, so I want to know if anyone comes along and does any more work on this page about Rita Huggins. Now, this is what Tamsin was missing, I think, because of the demo account. But if you are associated with this editing campaign, you'll be asked, do you want to add this reference into the campaign? It just means that well, there's various reasons, but sometimes editors work on multiple subjects, and some of the things they're doing aren't for the campaign. So we're just asking them to opt in. Here it is. That's that reference at the bottom. Beautiful. So I won't demo, but you could do the same with a DOI or anything. And there's one other thing. If you needed to come back and edit something, you can, I've gone out of edit mode. You can go into edit, the thing I wanted to show you. So say I wanted to do something about this one, you can click on it. If you want to delete it, you can actually just, if you delete that citation, it goes. So just be careful of that. But you can see in here, there's a bit of a mess here. And it's also said it's used 8 times on this page. So you can go in and you can fix up this. So this is a case of where you don't really want all of those authors in the in the first name field, and so you want to add the last name and the first name there. We won't do it right now, but if I wanted to reuse that same reference that I'd used and I'd cite this, see here I've got the reuse button, and I can go down and find that one that I had already done. So once you've done a reference once, you shouldn't, in the article, you shouldn't have to redo it. And the other one that I didn't show you was the manual one, but I'm sure you get the idea. If you can't add it automatically, you will have to fill in those fields yourself. And some of you might prefer to do that. I'm just going to exit out of there now. Discard your edits. So I think it is time that, so Sophie, I'm just going to hop out so that I can see what's going on. And yeah, so feel free to work on whatever you'd like to work on. Put in the chat if you'd like any help. And feel free to pick up anything from those spreadsheets. It's a good idea on the worksheets that you put your name if you're going to do one of them, because we obviously don't need multiple people doing the same person. Questions? Thanks, Alice. Yep.
Just had a question in the chat about how to find the sections that need citations and whether there is something that we can do to kind of highlight them in the article to draw attention to. I was wondering if you could show us what we currently have.
Sorry, what we have?
So for example, a citation needed template.
No, we don't. I don't think that. Oh, you mean if someone identifies that? We weren't going to go into that and templates today, but we can certainly do that one, if we have time at the end.
Yeah. Yep. I can probably cover that. We're having a drop-in session tomorrow. We're having one every week for the next few weeks, and I can answer all those sorts of questions.
Yeah. If you see a citation needed, then feel free to fix it. But I think at this stage we won't, because we've already nearly out of time. So we're going to give you 5 minutes to get your first citation in there. Sorry, everyone.
You can do it. We believe in you.
We always underestimate.
Also, for anyone who's working on the Australian list, at the top of that Google sheet is a link to the book in the Internet Archive. So in there, we've put a suggestion of what you may want to write, but of course, you may want to go look at what it actually says. And I do think that's important. So it's up there if anyone wants to access it, and I also put it in the chat.
So let's see who can get their first. When you've put in a citation, feel free to post the article link in the chat. And please turn on, often it's much easier to talk, so feel free to turn on your microphone at this stage if you want to ask a question.
Yeah, there are some excellent questions in the chat about tools and things to help editors. There are hundreds of tools that you can turn on that give you a slightly different editing interface that color code things and sort things or display things differently. I spent years editing in a different interface because I preferred the old one that had existed before I started. But since I started teaching, I now use the new one because I need to be more familiar with it to show other people. But that might be something to explore in other sessions, Ali, is tools that can display things differently for colorblind or make accessibility easier for people. Or maybe some of the flagging templates we use to say this section is without citations, that kind of thing.
And if anyone is struggling and is confident to share their screen, then we're very happy to talk you through that work. That's another way, especially anyone who needs help with the logging in. Now would be a good time to do that.
Yes. Is there anyone who is not seeing the visual editor?
Oh, yeah.
There's a very annoying setting for new accounts that it says, remember the last editor I used. And so if you've ever edited in source mode, then you're stuck in it. And the visual editor tab disappears. So we can show you how to change that if you have that problem.
And you can keep working on the lists. You're very welcome. They'll stay there and you've got the links. So it'd be great to get them finished by the end of the time. Please keep working. Please keep adding links in the chat as you go. But Sophie, we might just move on to the next slide. Thank you. And I know for a lot of people, cultural practices around citation is a big topic in library science at the moment. And Wikipedia, Wikimedia Australia and New Zealand are working in this kind of space. The movement generally is looking at it, as is the profession. And this is probably the simplest form. I'm sure you've all, or most of the Australians probably have all seen this from the Australian Institute for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Research. And what we would be saying is, as well as the technical aspects of citation on Wikipedia, which you've been introduced to today, there is also what is a reliable source and what is an appropriate source if we're talking about content to do with Indigenous peoples. And so this idea that you would try to, if you're writing about Aboriginal Torres Strait Islander people, that you would use resources that they've written, which is why this list, at least the Aboriginal anthology is largely written by Aboriginal people and also selected by. So it's developed, we either with, if it's not written by them, it is in conjunction, or particularly in the education space, maybe it's been written for Aboriginal, on behalf of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. Where we get down to the bottom section, and particularly the bottom one, we would not be saying is safe to use, and we'd want to take a lot of care in the way we were representing this fourth section. So, it's just a good thing to come into this thinking, once you're adding citations, it's not just about how you're doing it, it's which ones you're choosing. And we know Wikipedia's history, there's a lot of stuff that is in this bottom section, which we would like to, with help, start adding citations that represent more the top level. I'm going to hand over, keep putting questions in, because I'm conscious we haven't dealt with, thanks, James, preferred date formats. If you're using the templates, then it would be, again, a matter of the template, but basically what we're saying, our message today is just get something in. Don't worry about the formatting, because somebody who knows more will come along and fix. But yeah, certainly stuff that we could be collecting to help people who are interested in going further in this area. Can I hand over to Alice Woods from Wikimedia Australia, who will talk you through some other opportunities? Thanks.
Yay! Hi, I'm Alice, so I'm the Education and Projects Officer for Wikimedia Australia. And throughout 1Lib1Ref, I'm going to be running site write sessions. So basically just a drop-in session to add references. It can be from the lists we've worked on today or from anything else that you're interested in. And feel free to ask me any questions, although I'll have to do some research on making it easier, those templates we were just talking about. So the first one of these is tomorrow morning/afternoon, depending on where you are. So please feel free to come along. We also have a number of meetups happening in both Australia and New Zealand, which you can see listed here. And if anyone wants to put those links in the link to those events in the chat, if you please could. But also, if you want to learn more about this or run one of these sessions in your own library or a different sort of editathon, please just reach out to us and we'd be happy to see if we can help. And these can be during 1Lib1Ref or outside of it. So I do know that next week I am pottering down to my local library and running a session like this. So if you would like one of those as well, please let us know. Prue, Tamsin, did I miss anything? And I'll just put our contact for Wikimedia Australia in the chat and for Wikimedia New Zealand.
And I think Cassie would definitely like you to talk about the in-person ones. Or Cassie, would you want it to?
Go for it, Cassie.
Oh, she's had to go. Oh, sorry.
So Cassie is the librarian based at the National Library of Australia, and they've been holding lunch meetups for a long time. And they're having a more general Canberra one on the 30th of May between 1 and 3 at the National Library. And she would love you.
Lovely. Now, I've noticed my Lunchipedia sessions conflict with all of your follow-up sessions for these. So I probably won't be able to join any of those. Or if I do, it'll only be for the second half.
Also,
but I will if I can.
Ask me for extras. Also, my local library is Murwillumbah Library. If anyone knows where that is. So I'm in the Northern Rivers Tweed region of New South Wales. So do you want to go to the next slide? So these are the two organisations that are represented here today. So Wikimedia Australia and Wikimedia Aotearoa New Zealand. So basically we're not-for-profit groups in Australia set up to support people in editing Wiki and getting involved in partnerships and all different sorts of things. So please feel free to reach out or become involved. So both of us have memberships. They are incredibly valuable to us. We both do newsletters and various events and things like that. So please check us out. I think we're pretty cool, but I am very biased.
Well, proud that we're going to finish on time, but we're very happy to stick around for a little while and answer specific questions. And if you really didn't get started because of the login, definitely suggest you reach out because that's very easily overcome.